What's up everyone and welcome back to the MMA Zone. Today, let's get started with Khabib sends a warning to the UFC roster. The next 2 weeks will be absolutely massive for Khabib Nurmagomedov and his team, with Islam Makhachev and Umar Nurmagomedov fighting on the UFC 311 on January 18th. And then Usman defending his Bellator championship belt the following weekend. And before we continue, make sure to leave a like on the video to help support the channel. With tons of high-profile fights and plenty of fighters waiting in the wings for their chance to become stars, Khabib sent a warning to the rest of the UFC during a sit-down with ESPN's Brett Okamoto. Many fighters coming. You know, people don't know them, but they are very hungry. They're going to be on top very soon, but not today. Maybe after a couple of years, they're going to be on top. They are ready for their chance and the time is going to come. We're going to have so many champions very soon too. Not only these guys, other guys, they're coming too because they're following what they're doing. Even though he's focused on coaching his guys to wins over the next 2 weeks, it sounds like the Hall of Famer is already thinking about retiring from coaching once these current fighters that he's coaching walk away from the sport. When these guys finish, I'm going to finish. I hope it's going to be very fast because I'm tired about this. With Umar being only 29 and Usman being only 26, it sounds like retirement is still a ways off for Coach Khabib. UFC 311's main event custom shorts were revealed late last night. With Islam's on the left and Merab's on the right, what do you guys think of the new custom shorts in the UFC? Let us know down in the comment section below. Justin Gaethje teases UFC fight news. After taking some time off following his highlight reel knockout loss to Max Holloway, it sounds like Justin Gaethje's ready to get back inside the octagon. In a video for his YouTube channel, Gaethje said that a couple of months ago, he told the UFC he wants to make his big return on the UFC 313 card at the beginning of March. Now, with the new year underway, the highlight said that the UFC is figuring everything out. But from the sounds of things, he's going to be throwing down with Dan Hooker.
Yeah, so there's no official fight signed, but I told the UFC maybe 2-3 months ago that March was, the date I was looking for. I know there's a fight March 8th in Las Vegas, so that's the one I told them I wanted to be on. I think they're figuring out fights right now, but I'm certainly mentally preparing, physically preparing to fight on that date. I think it's going to be Dan Hooker, but...
At the time that he was filming the YouTube video, he said the card was about 8.5 weeks away, meaning it's pretty recent. With Hooker saying back in October that he'd be ready to fight in March after his wife gives birth in February, it sounds like it might just be a matter of time before the UFC finalizes this one. Belal Muhammad goes off on Sean Strickland. For Belal Muhammad, it's personal with Sean Strickland. After a handful of back and forths between the two online, Muhammad was asked about the upcoming Strickland DDP rematch set for the UFC 312 card Down Under. Instead of saying that he hopes Strickland wins so he can move up and fight for another title, Muhammad said that he hopes Strickland gets smashed, and regardless of whether the outspoken and oftentimes controversial middleweight wins or loses, he's willing to move up to fight him. During an appearance on Submission Radio this week, the welterweight champion unloaded on Strickland. I hope he loses and gets knocked out and put unconscious and doesn't wake up. Regardless, I would always want to move up and fight him whether he has the belt or not. That would always be a fight I would always say yes to. I mean, it's personal. The guy's just an airhead. He's literally the definition of trailer trash. That's what he is. So when he says all this dumb stuff, people need to make him pay for it. He can't get attention other than saying dumb things, so he has to say stupid, wild stuff because nobody cares about him without it. It's kind of like Colby Covington. Nobody cared about him before he started saying dumb stuff. So Strickland's trying to level it up even more so he could just have that wow factor because his fights suck. With Muhammad expected to fight Shavkat Rakhmonov and the winner of the upcoming Strickland DDP fight expected to fight Khamzat Chimaev, the odds of a fight between Muhammad and Strickland happening next seem pretty slim. Despite that, with tons of champions moving up in pursuit of second titles, the stars could align for a grudge match between these two in the future. Airline reacts to Khabib's situation. Frontier Airlines has broken their silence on the viral moment caught on camera when Khabib Nurmagomedov was removed from a flight. While the video didn't show why the former champion was being told that he had to give up his seat, the stewardess, however, said that they were allowed to do so at their discretion because he was seated in an exit row. In the video, Nurmagomedov can be seen making his case, saying that he was asked before getting on the plane whether he was willing to accept the responsibilities of sitting in an exit row, and he had no problem. When he refused to give up his seat, however, the airline removed him. On Monday, Frontier Airlines released a statement saying that he and everyone traveling with him was refunded their money. The statement relayed by MMA Fighting reads, Customer Khabib Nurmagomedov, who was seated in an exit row, was asked multiple times if he was willing and able to assist in the event of an emergency. According to the flight attendant, Mr. Nurmagomedov did not respond, despite repeated attempts, which placed him in non-compliance with FAA requirements. The flight attendant informed Mr. Nurmagomedov that he could be moved to a different upgraded seat or exit the plane. Videos circulating on social media platforms do not capture this interaction and instead show a subsequent interaction after a gate agent entered the plane and reiterated the option to be reseated. As a result of the customer's initial unresponsiveness and repeated declinations of a seat change, he was asked to deplane per airline and FAA policy. The decision to deplane the customer was in no way related to his ethnicity, and we have refunded him and his traveling companions for their flights. Michael Chandler responded to the situation, questioning who better to assist in an emergency than an athlete of Nurmagomedov's caliber. Can you imagine an emergency happens on your plane and you would prefer a perfect speaking human instead of one of the greatest athletes of all time because you're uncomfortable with his ability to speak English? Which is very good, by the way. This is bizarre. Not only was he the most physically capable human being on the plane, but I'm pretty sure the only qualification to sitting in the exit row is being able to say the word yes. He then called out Frontier directly. If you're going to kick our goat off the plane for a little accent, please start making passengers do a physical and mental fitness aptitude test before you let them sit in the exit row after uttering a one-word, one-syllable yes, because I've seen some slugs in the exit row on flights. He then fired off an unprompted shot at Southwest Airlines in a follow-up. While we're at it, let's talk about you well-bodied gaming the system Southwest Air pre-boarders who induced a new assigned seating policy happening last year. #A-list. Chandler also took aim at Nate Diaz, who posted a laughing emoji in response to the situation. He speaks better English than you, Nate Diaz. Meanwhile, Conor McGregor decided that he would follow the airline on Instagram after the situation. In addition, aka head coach Javier Mendez spoke about the situation on Submission Radio this week, saying, "This happened last week when he was coming back from Utah, either going to Utah or coming from Utah from skiing. They profiled him, 1,000,000%. They profiled him because he was wearing a hoodie and they were uncomfortable with him wearing a hoodie. But you know why he was wearing a hoodie? Because he's a super famous athlete in the world and he doesn't want to be recognized. I know him. He's not going to do nothing about it, but I think that people that love him or love justice are going to be up in arms about this. It's outrageous. They should be held accountable." While Mendez wanted the airline to donate to the victims of the LA fires as a show of goodwill, so far they haven't commented on the situation. Ariel Helwani reveals horrible news about Bellator. When the PFL acquired Bellator, it seems as though the writing was on the wall for the promotion. While the PFL planned to keep Bellator alive in the short term, according to Ariel Helwani, this Monday, Bellator finally kicked the metaphorical bucket, evidenced by PFL founder Don Davis's social media accounts. During Monday's edition of the Ariel Helwani show, Helwani pointed out that not only do Davis's social media accounts have no mention of Bellator, but the upcoming card headlined by Usman Nurmagomedov and Paul Hughes has no Bellator branding. Right now, I can tell you on Monday, January 13 at 1:20 p.m. Eastern Time, Bellator is Bellator as we know it is no more. Bellator is You will not see Bellator events anymore. They're going to be what is being referred to as PFL Champion Series events. Those events are going to be headlined by title fights. PFL is going to start having its own champions, not just season champions, not just tournament champions, its own champion. Now, what's unclear, how they will crown those champions. Meaning, does Usman Nurmagomedov become the PFL lightweight champion after January 25th if he beats Paul Hughes? Or does Paul Hughes become the PFL lightweight champion? Or are the tournament winners from last year the PFL champions? From the sounds of things, there's a pretty good chance that the upcoming fight between Nurmagomedov and Hughes on the 25th winds up being the last fight before the winner is promoted to becoming the PFL champion, like when the UFC promoted Jose Aldo from WEC featherweight champion to the UFC featherweight champion after acquiring the WEC way back when. In either case, fighters are being left out of the loop, with Bellator champ Corey Anderson finding out about the news thanks to a post that his wife saw on social media. Jiri Prochazka calls out Alex Pereira for trilogy. Jiri Prochazka may be 0-2 against Alex Pereira, but the former champion still has his sights set on getting a win over Poatan. While it's pretty rare to see a fighter who's 0-2 get a chance to compete in a trilogy fight, ahead of Prochazka's fight against Jamal Hill this weekend, Prochazka is confident that he's evolved as a fighter. Because of that, he not only believes that he can get back into title contention, he believes that he can get the better of Alex Pereira the third go-around. During an interview with MMA Junkie this week, he weighed in. "I said that many times, and I mean that very seriously. Everything that I say, I mean very seriously. I believe that I've made improvements to my style, to my life, and everything so I can face Alex Pereira a third time. I really believe that. I believe that I can be the champion, and I'm going for that, to be the champion again. No more words. This is what I want to show the world, that I'm the best. I've made the improvements that I can be at the top, champion again. This is it. Although the expectation is that Magomed Ankalaev is going to be the next up to get a crack at the title, the winner of the upcoming Prochazka-Hill fight could be just one more impressive win away from another crack at the belt. And on the topic of Alex Pereira's next UFC fight, he teased fans with a big announcement on his Instagram story this week. Stay tuned this week, good news, Shama. Also, Jamal Hill believes that many people forgot about how good he is in the UFC. He sent a message to the MMA community on his YouTube channel.
Y'all got me up. For real. Y'all, look, you know what I mean? I can say, well, it's fight week. We gonna get in there. We gonna lock in. We gonna do our thing. But y'all must have forgot. Y'all must have really, really forgot. But
I don't think they forgot. They got
oh, no,
you.
they forgot.
They got you.
Oh, no.
They got you in favor to win right now.
You know what I'm saying?
So.
You know what I'm saying? I don't even pay attention to no odds, bro. I don't pay attention to no odds. But what I do know is y'all must have forgot. It's gonna be fun getting back out there, mixing it up, and reminding everybody who the I am. Everything's feeling great. Everything's feeling locked in. I'm ready to go, man. I have no idea how bad I am. I'm ready to go. I can't wait to get in there. I can't wait for Saturday.
With both guys looking to prove that they deserve another crack at the champion, the stakes couldn't be higher heading into UFC 311. Dominick Cruz talks about upcoming retirement fight. On February 22nd, Dominick Cruz will make the walk to the octagon for the final time in Seattle, Washington. Ahead of the fight, Cruz echoed a familiar sentiment we've heard plenty of times before. His body just simply can't handle what's required to compete at the highest level. During a virtual appearance on the Ariel Helwani show, Cruz spoke about the situation ahead of what will be the final fight of his career, referencing how the fight game has taken its toll on one of Cruz's old rivals, TJ Dillashaw. The body just isn't the same anymore. When you've got to start training differently because the body isn't doing what you need it to, then you're subsidizing, right? You're taking away something here and there, so I don't want that to be the case. I think if I just keep going and going, I could end up in a space where I can't lift my arm. I don't know if anybody's seen TJ Dillashaw recently. He can't even lift his arm this high. I've had multiple shoulder surgeries. Those are the things I've been building over this time that I've been off, rebuilding the body for this fight to come back and make sure that I can make it through a camp in one piece. While some fans hope that Dillashaw would eventually unretire and make another run at UFC Gold, he said back in July that the reality is his shoulder has gotten progressively worse with each surgery, and now he's essentially down to one arm. With Cruz racking up more than his fair share of injuries throughout his career, it sounds like the former champion wants to go out on his own terms. Dana White releases fighter from the UFC. Holly Holm and the UFC have agreed to part ways, freeing her of her contract so she can pursue other opportunities. Holly Holm had 2 fights remaining on her UFC contract, but she requested a chance to explore other opportunities. Ariel Helwani posted on Twitter breaking the news by writing, "Holly Holm has parted ways with the UFC and is now a free agent. She had 2 fights left on her deal, asked to explore other opportunities, and the UFC obliged. She plans on continuing to fight and is open to MMA or boxing," her longtime agent, Lenny Fresquez, tells me. Now this is pretty surprising considering most fighters are somewhat forced to fight out their contract, but it's good to see the UFC releasing fighters that had no interest in continuing in the organization. The MMA world reacted to her departure by writing, "Why not? She was past her prime and will always be remembered for the brutal knockout against Ronda Rousey. Wish her the best. It was a good run, but both sides are better off parting ways. There's nothing realistically left for her to accomplish at the UFC. She had a hell of a run for anybody, let alone someone who came to the sport later in their career, and she fought everybody. Always enjoyed watching her, and that performance against Ronda is one of the most note-perfect in UFC history. 43 and hasn't fought in nearly 2 years, I think we all know who she's signing with. Should do boxing at this point. Going to another MMA organization seems like a downgrade, honestly. Absolute legend of the game, never turned down fights, she's Hall of Famer at the end of the day.